2 lengths. So look out for them when you're in the water, really enjoying themselves, and they revert back to the breaststroke and then swim a few more lengths and then breaststroke, etc., etc. So that's that 7. You get the middle 7 who want to do what they're doing, but it takes them a little bit longer because they're just that slightly, little bit cautious. Yes, they get water in the face, they don't like it, and they think, oh, I don't really want to do this. But the desire to swim is greater than the feel, and so they go on and they learn how to swim. Now we come to the left-hand side, and we come to the 7 who don't feel like that. As soon as they get into the water starts moving, and they are totally out of control. They grip onto the side and they do not want to let it go. Some manage by using a float to get their legs above, off the floor rather, and they go on to maybe using the float and zooming about all over the place. But they'll never learn to swim. Why? Because as soon as they let the float go, they're completely out of control. Now, these are people who want to control their environment, not people. They want to control their environment, and usually they have quite tidy bedrooms. And generalising again, the majority of them end up by going into the banking system, or they are accountants, IT, with very responsible jobs. But all the time, the jobs that they have, they're doctors, they're nurses, they run their own businesses, but all the time they have control of their own environment. Not necessarily people, that's not the object, it's their environment, and the water is uncontrollable to them. So, just take one of them for instance, say an 8-year-old, and he's clinging onto the side, and the teacher thinks, I'm going to get all of you to swim, so he barks at all the class, said, get out, come on, down the deep end, off you go, down the deep end. I'm going to make that person swim, he thinks. So, jump in, come on, jump in. Well, of course, that child of 8 years old doesn't want to jump in because he's already experienced the fact that he's out of control. But because everybody's doing it and he doesn't want to look an idiot, he jumps in as well, not knowing what he's going to experience. And what does he or she experience? First of all, the jump, the thrust, sends them right deep down into the water because of the gravity weight as they fall into the water. Water shoots up their nose in a very painful way, stings the very tender membranes at the top part of the nose. They can't breathe, probably haven't got any goggles on, so they've got this terrible chlorinated water around their eyes, stinging their eyes, and now they want to grab hold of something solid so they can pull themselves up to breathe. So their arms and legs are going akimbo, and they're using all of their oxygen, and as a result they're starved of air and they think they're going to die. Sometimes this child or the child is fished out of the water and they're actually resuscitated there and then in the pool, on the dry side. Are they sent to hospital? Do they have any counselling? No, none whatsoever. Sometimes they're fished out the pool, coughing and spluttering, near to tears, they don't want to do it again. Mainly, these ones are stood in front of the instructor, feeling absolutely stupid, with a wet, dripping swimming costume, no clothes on, apart from their costume. Their peers are looking at them, probably sniggering some of them, because they don't, that's not the experience they have. They can't understand why that person has got into trouble. And of course, what happens after that? The instructor turns around and says, all right, go and get changed. Is that the end of it? Of course it isn't. As I explained earlier on, it's not always the action that causes the person the pain, is what comes afterwards. So what do they do for the next week when, say that was on the Wednesday that happened, and they know they're going to have swimming lessons the following Wednesday? They have a breathe, sigh of relief for the first few days, and then on Tuesday, they can't take it. The stress comes back again. How can they get out of it? Well, some of the things that are said is, I've got a cold, I feel ill, I feel sick. The best one I heard was a guy that came in, and he said, I had a good one. He said, my mum said I've got impetigo. Oh no, you can't come in, you can't come in. So that kept him out of the pool for quite some time. And although it's quite laughable at the time, it isn't. It's very, very stressful. Children even go to the point of forging a letter from their parents because they haven't told their parents about what's happened in the pool. I generalise here. Some children do tell their parents, and the parents end up by saying, I don't want Johnny or Mary to go back into the pool again. But on the whole, nothing is done. And they carry that trauma that visits them every week of the school term, okay, right up until they go to secondary modern school when they're 11. So how many years is that? 8 years? 3 years of trauma nearly every week. And then when they go to the secondary modern school, some of those schools do not promote swimming. So as a result, breathe a sigh of relief, don't have to visit the water again. Is that right? Don't think so. They make friends, and then all of a sudden they want to go to Spain or Italy or wherever it is, and what is it? Let's go swimming. Well, he's faced with it again, isn't he? She. Maybe they're about 19 or 20 or a little bit younger than that. So now I have to make the same excuse again. Oh, I've got a good book I want to read. Or, oh, it's lovely and warm out here. And, oh, yeah, it looks a bit cold for me. And I'd rather just stay here. Thanks a lot. You know, any old excuse to try and get out of swimming. Or they won't even go down to the pool. They'll just disappear, and so they're not noticed. All this takes a toll on somebody's life. This stress. And just imagine, you're having a dinner party, 8 of you around the table perhaps. And what does the conversation go on to? Holidays. Oh yeah, I went to so-and-so, had a lovely big pool, had a wonderful time swimming, and you're sitting there squirming in your chair because you can't swim, and you know in a minute you've got to say something about your holiday, and you've got to avoid the word swimming or water, which is impossible because that's why most people go away on holiday, to go and get into some water where the sun is lovely and warm. And so because the stress has been so much over the years, they decide to reveal to everybody at the table that they can't swim. Well, what does that do then? Have you ever been in that situation? It's like as if you've come out the closet, or you've said something like, well, actually, I'm redundant now, but I haven't told anybody, so I'm stealing money to pay the mortgage. The effect of telling people that you can't swim is absolutely awful. It's because they go, what? You can't swim? Oh, it's so easy. Look, I'm going to the pool soon, you know. Come along with me, I'll teach you how to swim. All you have to do is this. Another person's squirming in the chair and thinking, no, it's not. And I say, no, it's not. It's not all you have to do. That person has to tackle their fear of the water. And that's where I come in. I teach people logic. I aim to replace the emotional fear with logic, because the water is logical. If you do the same thing over and over again, wrong thing, you're going to get the wrong reaction. You do the right thing over and over again, the water's going to react in a way which is pleasing. So that's the first thing I explain to people. I get them to walk up and down for a while, just chatting about this and that. And believe it or not, some people can't let go of the side. But within about 5 or 10 minutes, there they are walking quite happily with the water around them, simply because they're doing the same thing over and over again. I talk about the logics of the water. We then go on to do a couple of simple exercises with the head above the water, sitting on a bench, explaining about what they need to do with their body. I then help them to put their face in the water in a very controlled way. And I explain to them, if they want to swim properly, then they need to learn how to glide. You can't glide unless you can float. And you can't float unless you've got your head in the water, which is the very thing that everybody who's frightened of the water, and I mean everybody, doesn't want to do. But they dutifully bring their goggles and their hats because they are desperate to learn how to swim, because everybody else does it and it looks really enjoyable. and it is enjoyable. It's one of the best things in the form of exercise that you will ever do in your entire life. So, thank you very much for listening to me. And if you'd like to look at my website, swim-easy.co.uk, there are lots of things I've written about. Some of them may be quite boring, but just pick out the ones that you want to listen to, or read rather, and hopefully I'll hear from you. Bye for now.